in the department of... But it is better not to name the department. There served a certain official, short, pockmarked, with reddish hair and a balding forehead. Akaky Akakievich was a titular counselor who lived for one thing only: copying documents. While St. Petersburg froze outside, he sat in his tattered, threadbare coat, which looked more like a dressing gown, scratching away with his quill, oblivious to the world. But his dedication brought him no respect. The younger officials laughed at him. They told stories about his landlady, mocked his silent nature, and tore up paper into little bits, sprinkling them over his head like snow. Through it all, Akaky sat quietly in that ridiculous coat, only occasionally murmuring, "Leave me alone. Why do you insult me?" Eventually, the cold became impossible to ignore. The wind pierced through the back of his coat as if it weren't there. Akaky took his beloved rag to Petrovich, the one-eyed tailor. He hoped for a patch, a simple fix. But Petrovich held up the coat against the light, shook his head, and delivered the death sentence. "It cannot be mended, sir. The cloth is rotten. You must have a new one made." For months, Akaky lived a life of severe asceticism. He stopped drinking tea in the evenings. He walked on his toes to spare his shoe soles. He burned no candles. But as he lay in his dark, freezing room, a strange happiness filled him. He was not alone. He was living with the idea of his future coat, a companion that kept his spirit warm even as his body shivered. Finally, the day arrived. Petrovich brought the coat. It was perfect. The cloth was thick, the lining strong, and the collar was made of cat fur that looked exactly like marten. As Akaky put it on, he felt a surge of dignity he had never known. The old coat, that mourning gown of shame, was cast onto the floor, a discarded skin of his past life. When he arrived at the department, the sensation was immediate. News spread like wildfire. "Akaky has a new coat!" The clerks abandoned their desks to see it. They touched the cloth, admired the collar, and congratulated him. For the first time in his life, Akaky stood in the center of the room, not as a target of mockery, but as a man of substance, smiling with shy delight. The party ended, and Akaky walked home through the vast, deserted square. It looked to him like a fearful, endless sea. Suddenly, two men with heavy mustaches appeared from the darkness. Before Akaky could utter a prayer, one of them grabbed him by the collar. "This coat is mine," a voice growled. The world spun, and darkness swallowed him. He woke up in the snow. It was freezing. He touched his shoulders. Nothing. The coat was gone. He ran through the streets, screaming, disheveled and shaking violently, but the wind drowned out his cries. The cold, which he had defeated only hours ago, now returned with a vengeance to claim him once and for all. Desperate, he sought help from a person of consequence. But the general, having recently received a promotion, wished only to show off his power. As Akaky stood before him, shivering and small, the general thundered, "Do you know who you are talking to? Do you understand my rank?" Akaky, crushed not by the cold, but by the cruelty of authority, felt his heart fail him. Akaky stumbled out of the general's office into the blizzard. The wind howled, piercing his thin clothing. He returned home in a fever, delirious, seeing visions of his lost coat and the shouting general. Within days, he was dead. St. Petersburg went on exactly as before, as if Akaky Akakievich had never existed, a creature born only to copy documents and suffer the cold. But the city was not done with him. Rumors began to whisper of a ghost haunting the Kalinkin Bridge. A short, pale official was dragging people from their carriages and stripping coats off their backs, fox, bear, or cotton, searching desperately for the one that was stolen from him. The dead man was claiming the warmth denied to the living. One night, the person of consequence was crossing the bridge. Suddenly, he felt a grip of iron on his collar. He turned and froze in terror. It was Akaky Akakievich, his face twisted in triumph. "I need your coat!" the ghost shrieked. The general, stripped of his arrogance, threw off his rich bear fur and ordered his driver to flee. The ghost seized the coat and vanished, never to be seen again.